Have you ever been in the situation as bad as this before?
No, I haven't.
You've been right down to the bottom in that case, haven't you?
I really have, yes. I think I lost my own self-respect, which is the worst thing anybody can do.
Reaching success can require you to give so much in return. It takes time, money, and in some cases, even your sanity. Bob Grant made On the Buses one of the most successful series in British TV. He made his lecherous bus driver character a hilarious feature of its many episodes. That was the height of his career. It continued to tumble down after that, with fewer and fewer fulfilling roles. The drop took a major toll on his psyche that ended in the worst way possible. Keep watching to learn more about the tragic death of Bob Grant, a man broken by fame. His early life and career. Robert St. Clair Grant was born in Hammersmith, London, April 14, 1932. He was the son of Albert George Grant and Florence Burston. He went to school at Aldenham School. His parents hoped he'd go for a business career, but he wouldn't have it. One of Robert's first roles was in 1960 in Every Man His Humour. He trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He spent his spare time working to pay for his studies. He worked as a frozen food salesman and, ironically, a bus driver. He showed his desire to find fulfilling work early when he eventually left the academy. He said, quote, "I walked out because I didn't think we were learning the right things, and I didn't agree with the kind of plays they made us do or the way we were told to act parts. I lost jobs as an actor, but for the right reasons. Had I stayed, I would have had to conform to something that was wrong and I didn't believe in." Robert later served in the Royal Artillery. He then made his stage debut in a 1952 production of Worm's Eye View. His first appearance in London was in 1956 at The Good Soldier Schweik. He also got the lead role in the musical Blitz for 2 years. He wrote the book and lyrics for and appeared in 1964's musical farce Instant Marriage. He eventually moved into films. His early appearances included 1963's Sparrows Can't Sing and 1969's Till Death Do Us Part. He never gave up on the stage, appearing in plays such as Mrs. Wilson's Diary. He also appeared in a 6-part radio comedy drama called The 17-Jeweled Shockproof Swiss-Made Bomb. On the Buses. Bob is most known for playing Jack Harper in the TV sitcom On the Buses. His castmates remember,
you've got Bob Grant's Jack, the bus conductor, toothy, leery, lecherous, cheeky chappy type character. And yet the actor who played him, Bob Grant, was anything but that.
It attracted up to 16 million viewers and ran for 74 episodes from 1969 to 1973. The show also spawned 3 feature films: On the Buses in 1971, Mutiny on the Buses in 72, and Holiday on the Buses in 73. The first one did better at the box office than any other British picture of that year. Bob was a major part of its success. He co-wrote 11 episodes and one of its specials. One of the buses represented the peak of his career. The climb down from that height was unfortunately tragic. After On the Buses. Bob found difficulty getting work after the show ended. He tried to replicate it when he wrote and starred in a one-off pilot called Milko. It had a similar plot but didn't lead to a series. Bob was as unimpressed by the show and its laugh track as the critics. He bluntly said, quote, "Terrible, wasn't it? The only studio available was too small for an audience. We had to leave pauses after gags so laughs could be put in. It was murder to do." He never acted in TV again. That didn't mean his career was over yet. He played the title role in the 1980 radio adaptation of Don Quixote and joined the 1986 radio play Red Telephone Box. He also returned to the stage in Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale. On the Buses was revived as Back to the Buses in 1990. All the original cast was supposed to come back. Plans for the reboot fell through when STV's executive producer's funding didn't come through. That truly did spell the end of Bob's career. He tried a few naughty movies and plays, but they were received poorly. Everything he seemed to do was either too much like his On the Buses character or too different. He hadn't worried about typecasting in his early days, but it eventually became a major problem. His final role was in a stage production of Funny Money in July 1998. The beginning of the end. Bob was married 3 times. The first was to Jean Hyatt in 1954. The second was to Christine Sally Kemp in 1962. These first 2 divorces weren't easy, but they didn't sap Bob's spirit. He treated them as an opportunity to focus on his craft. Performing was always his first love. There was also still time for other kinds of love in his life. He was in a relationship with his On the Bus's guest star Gabe Brown until he broke up with her to marry Kim Bendwell in 1971. He was so popular at that time that fans swarmed them as they tried to make it official. Bob's world changed when mental illness began to rear its ugly head. He was diagnosed with depression, bipolar disorder, and other mental health issues. Most believe they were brought on by his considerable debt and a long span of time with no work to pay them off. The pressure made Bob's life difficult and even dangerous. As he said, quote, "To have a taste of what work could be like again, then to have that snatched away from me was awful. All I could see was the empty months ahead, debts building up, no hope. I went into a black depression. I'd sit for hours with my head in my hands." Broken by fame. In 1987, he disappeared from home for 5 days. He wrote a note to Kim telling her he wanted her to receive everything he had. He returned later and was frank about what happened in an interview, saying,
"I've been through absolute hell in the last week. So's my wife, my mother, my friends. It's been a dreadful time. Frankly, I've been through, I suppose, what one would call a breakdown.
What actually happened?
I just found the pressures too much to bear. The pressures of having been out of work for a long time, the pressure of looking at the future and seeing nothing coming up. I thought, I cannot stand another period like I've gone through in the last year. I really cannot take it. The debts are mounting up. There's no future."
Bob also explained why he chose to go where he did when he disappeared. The police ended up finding him. They were sent at the behest of his wife. Her genuine concern helped him see a light at the end of the tunnel for a time. At the end of the interview, he sounded positive. It seemed like there would be hope for the great star to recover.
What do you think you're going to be doing over the next few days and weeks to get yourself back on course again?
I have something for the future because my very good friend Joe Weston Webb has offered me a job which will tide me through. He's also asked me to direct and write his pantomime next year in Leicester, so I've got something.
He gained a few more acting jobs after the attempt, but it didn't last forever. He had another long employment gap. He even had to take normal, non-acting jobs that didn't even result in payment always. There was a small run of work, but it ended tragically. Bob attempted to take his life again by carbon monoxide poisoning in 1995. He was found just in time in his car and rushed to the hospital for treatment. Kim decided he needed a fresh start after he recovered. They went on a holiday to Goa, India, then moved to a small cottage in Church End Twining. Bob seemed better but became a recluse. He put all his energy into caring for his beloved dog. The neighbors only saw him when he came out to trim the hedges. Robert's tragic death. Robert Grant died at age 71 from a final suicide attempt on October 8, 2003. He was once again found in a fume-filled car in his garage. This time it was too late to save him. He had lost everything. His fame, his acting roles, and his money had all dried up. He tried his best to live with it, but it eventually overcame him. "It can happen to anyone," Bob once said. He was right. There's only one benefit of being able to look back on it now. We can help make sure the same tragedy happens to fewer people. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Bob Grant? Let us know in the comments section below.